welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. A reminder, we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. I'm your host, Wayne Liu, and joining me on the line for the first segment, backed by popular demand, honestly, because we've been getting a lot of requests for this ever since he made his last appearance on the show, is former Raptors sharpshooter CJ Miles, host of Strictly Hoops over at Yahoo Sports Canada. CJ, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you?
I'm doing well. Now, CJ, I was just down at practice, just down at OVO yesterday, and obviously a lot of the talk was just sort of like, the Raptors got a 7-game road trip coming up, and I actually wanted to ask you just a little bit in terms of just like, what goes down on road trips, stuff like that behind the scenes, where I think people are always endlessly fascinated about, what NBA players do. But actually, I was listening back to some of the interviews, and I heard this clip from Thad Young that I wanted to play for you here and then go through a couple of the terminologies, because I feel like one of the things you do really a good job at Strictly Hoops is breaking down plays. So, producer, you got that clip?
I mean, I think it's just more so is just effort. And that's all the way around from, when a team makes a shot, when we make a shot and we're getting back on defense, picking the ball up early and, showing our high walls and our high gaps, making, guys see, not see lanes as opposed to, how it's like the Red Sea is parted sometimes, where we're getting back and everybody's in a defensive position and not standing straight up to where, if a guy drives baseline, we have a base go and a guy's rotating for that guy and, we're Xing out on the weak side. Just a lot of different things. I think it's just ready basketball. It showed that we were always in ready mode, focus mode, effort mode, always willing to make the next play. And that's what we need to get back to doing.
All right, CJ, when you hear that assessment from Thad Young about the Raptors defense, which this year has been, a letdown at times, what do you make of sort of first off his comments on the Raptors and their defensive issues so far?
The biggest thing is that it's a call for a sense of urgency. That's what it seems like he's trying to do in the politest way, but just to get guys to understand that where we are right now in the season, like if I'm on that team and we're going through what we're going through, ups and downs, a lot more losses than we want or should be getting, there should be a different reaction to that. It shouldn't be a reaction of slumped shoulders and laxing on certain principles. It should be an opposite reaction. It should be, we got to tighten up. We got to get back even closer to the fundamental stuff and the things that help us win basketball games. I think the biggest things that good teams do is they find the things that they hang their hat on throughout the season. And that's been a defensive unit for a while now. That's one thing that's been great up there. Even from before I got there, it was a good defensive team, So I think you look at something that really will help turn things around, and that's it. And he's just calling out the things that we're supposed to be doing every night, and we're not doing them, and we expect to win. That's pretty much called insanity if you do the same thing over and over and you don't get a different result. I mean, you're not supposed to.
Right. And this is, one of the main reasons you bring a guy like Thad Young into your program, right? Because you have some younger players and you do have some younger veteran leaders, but at the same time, you have somebody like that who's been in the league a long time calling it out. And it's a good thing. I really think it's a good thing. This is a healthy sort of approach that I think any successful team would have. Now, and one thing I noticed with a lot of Thad Young's interviews is he gets, really technical sometimes with sort of how he's describing it, right? And maybe it's just really technical to people who haven't played like myself, but in particular, I think it's really appreciated because I think sometimes players can kind of take two approaches, right? You can kind of sort of like simplify it, really make it digestible, or, you can really lay into obviously all the basketball IQ that a guy like that obviously clearly possesses. So, CJ, I just wanted you to help, decode some of these terms.
Okay.
All right. So first off,
okay.
He said we got to make sure we're back and we're showing our high walls and our high gaps. What does that mean?
So, say De'Aaron Fox comes to town.
Yep.
And even if we score or not, and they outlet him the ball, when De'Aaron Fox picks the ball up and looks up, he's got to see all 5 of our defenders looking at him. Meaning he can't look up and see any weak spots in the defense early because he's going to attack them.
Okay.
So if he attacks those weak spots early and we're not, say, Freddie's guarding the ball, OG's on one wing and Pascal's on the other wing, meaning he's got to see Freddie's chest and he's got to see the other 2 guys beside Freddie looking at him and ready to help.
Okay.
Because if he can see that, it changes his attack early. If he attacks early and he gets in the paint early, now the defense is in scramble mode for 24 seconds.
Right. And that's one of the big focuses, I think. Well, Nick was asked about this as well, and he was definitely focusing a lot of the fact that the Raptors are not either getting back in transition or they're getting beat on the first action that the other team is running. Ideally, first off, you definitely need to stop transition. That's the number one principle. But then the number two thing is make them play later into their clock, make them run their second, third actions in the set. And that's where likely you will get low percentage shots. The other thing that Thad really said was, he brought up an example. If a guy drives baseline, we have a base go, guys rotating for that guy if we're Xing out to the weak side and making sure we have all this sort of lockdown. What does all that mean?
Okay, so a lot of defenses in the NBA, they want to keep guys out of the middle of the floor.
Okay.
Because they have so many options. So if I have you on the wing, I'm not letting you go baseline, but I'm referring you to the baseline. Like if you're gonna beat me, it's gotta be baseline because now we have more ways to help you. So a base go would be the guy that's in help side whose guy's on the other side of the floor, the furthest away from the ball.
Right.
If he sees somebody getting baseline, he's coming to help. And then that way, the other three guys that are not involved in the play, the X out term that he used is the other guy on the weak side. He's going to take the first pass. So the guy so the offensive player attacks the basket. There's the guy who's guarding the ball who's gotten beat, so he's kind of behind. There's the guy who's coming across the baseline to make sure he doesn't get a dunk. And then the other three guys' job is to help those two guys away from the ball. So the first pass that comes out, an X out guy will take that pass.
Right.
And then everybody else finds another body.
Okay. Now, see, this will take a lot of coordination, right? This will take a lot of basketball IQ to pick up on the fly. Probably a lot of experience playing with each other. But the Raptors have shown it, right? That's not the thing is like it's not exclusive to an older or even more experienced group. We saw them last season play at that level.
And that's why Thad can go to the media and say what he's saying. He's not asking for something that can't be done. He's saying it in a tone of like, we've done this. He said, get back to this.
Right.
He didn't say we need to figure out how to do it. He said, get back to this. These are guys that have won a championship on this team.
Right.
They know.
Yep.
They know what kind of things got to be done and the way the consistency it has to be done too. That's the other thing. This is not him saying that they don't play defense at all. This is him saying them understanding that how much more they have to do it to get back to winning ways.
Okay, well, we'll see if it really starts to click in on this road trip. Obviously, it's going to be a really difficult one. The Raptors going on the road for 7 games. Actually, one other thing that was interesting because Thad came to speak to media first, and then Nick was the last guy to speak. And they were wrapping up practice early because they're flying out to the West Coast. So typically, you know this, right? You dip out early, obviously help with the time change, all that kind of stuff. So we were asking Nick about sort of what Thad was saying, and Nick's reaction was sort of like, "Oh, well, this was a closed door meeting." But then he was like, "Look, happy to go into it," and sort of explained sort of like some of the things he was trying to highlight. Are video sessions like explicitly private, or like are they closed door meetings specifically where you can't necessarily say what we're looking at in film? Because to me, I don't see any issue with sort of the idea that like, hey, we're working on our defense. Like when the Raptors are like ranked 20th in defense right now, I would hope that they're working on their defense, and I'm sure it's something you work on literally every day, especially with a defensive mind coach like Nick. But I mean, is this a faux pas, guys? I suppose.
Yeah, I think there's a line of what you want, because sometimes those meetings you might have to get under guys, you might have to light a fire under a certain guy's tail,
Okay.
It might get a little more personal than it has. Not, I shouldn't say personal. It might have to get a little more individual because you got guys that play a lot of minutes and guys that we lean a lot on, and sometimes that guy's got to be called out in front of everybody to see it, because we call it the eye in the sky, as they say in most sports. They don't lie. So if I got to show you a bunch of clips of you not doing what I've been asking you to do for 2 weeks, we don't want that spilling out and then looking like, it's a fight or something over in turmoil. It's like, no, we're just being professionals.
Right.
We found a weak link, something consistently being weak. It just happens to be you right now. This is not me attacking you personally. I'm sorry I use personally first because it's not personal. It's us trying to be the best team we can be. And anybody that wants to win takes that and it's like, I got it.
Right. I think a great example of this is, Nick, I think earlier in November was talking about how like, look, Gary's, defensively, we know he has a higher level to reach and we want him to get there. And if he does, sort of he fits us, right? Now, of course, I didn't necessarily like the fits us comment, but to be honest, like I understood where he was coming from. And then, of course, he put Gary on the bench for about 7 games. the response, as you mentioned, with a guy who really, really focused and really, really takes that message to heart, takes it the right way, and starts to focus, is a guy like what Gary has been doing the last 2 months or so, where he's been red hot, averaging 20 plus, super focused, and then things where Nick is saying, we want you to be more disruptive with the ball, averaging 2 steals a game in addition to that. So, they're obviously, you can't necessarily always call people out, or I guess, you don't want all of it flowing out because people can take it the wrong way because no one has all the context other than people in the room. But it can be effective.
You don't ask a guy who's not capable of doing that to do that.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So that's I always looked at, if a coach, especially if a coach was willing to go out and say a name in the media that way, that's him saying, I need more from you. And I know you can do it. He wouldn't put you in a position to fail.
Right.
And then on the other side, would you want a guy that you knew was capable of doing that and you asked him and he just folded after you said that? Would you want a guy on your team? You know what I mean? That didn't, could you win with a guy like that on your team who had an ability to do something more that was going to help your team win? That's what we asking for, right? All the guys in the league are asking for responsibility, playing time, more shots, more this, more that. And then a coach gives you an assignment that could potentially lead to you getting the things you want. Why wouldn't you do them?
Right. It's great perspective. Now, the Raptors are going out on this 7-game road trip. This is a long one. Apparently, this is the longest road trip that the Raptors as a franchise has gone on since 2007. Really? Yeah. And I think during that time, they had an extra 4 days off for Christmas as well. So, this is a long road trip, definitely the longest one of the year. So, CJ, I gotta ask you, if you were to go on a 7-game road trip, and I don't know if over the course of your very long NBA career, if you ever did go on a 7-game road trip, what's the one thing you can't go without during this trip? What do you have to pack for that 7-game road trip?
Whoa, that's a good question. The biggest thing is any personal recovery stuff that I own, speaking from the basketball side, Normatex, leg sleeves, any things that I can do to help my recovery with all the traveling and all the things we're doing. Maybe some bands and things like that to keep, the body moving good. And then on the personal side, I'm going to have some type of video game probably, because it's probably going to be a lot of time in hotel. You got to have days off in cities and you're not going to want to be on your feet a lot. So I'm either bringing a Switch or a PlayStation or Xbox or something that I can hook up.
Okay.
And then a couple books and a notebook to write in and, just to fill some of that headspace time. Because some of that, you got to find some type of detachment, especially on a road trip, because there's even less things for you to do. And you can sit around, and if there's a bad game, you don't want to spend 2 days dwelling on a bad game. Or 2 days sitting around thinking about how great I was and taking the next game for granted. Either way.
Right. No, that makes sense. And listen, you guys have to go on a lot of long flights, right? Toronto Sacramento is I think probably just over 5 hours, maybe because it's probably about the same as Toronto San Francisco, and I've done that a couple of times. So that's 5 hours. So I'm assuming 5 hours on this flight. Now we've seen lots of pictures of NBA players on flights. I feel like this is the number one time sometimes for NBA players to take photos. I remember there's one year where Serge got everyone scarves and everyone took a picture in the middle of the flight. Or even going back way in the day, there's a infamous photo of, speaking of video games, David Robinson and Tim Duncan playing a local area network. They literally got 4 laptops they connected together. I think they were playing StarCraft or something like that after winning the championship in '98. What was your go-to thing on the flight? As a team activity. You know what I mean? There's the cards, there's the video games.
Yeah, there's cards. There's cards. A lot. There's sometimes on the long trips we sit around. There's music playing and we just chopping it up, literally.
Yeah.
Guys are just telling stories, talking about the game. Those are some of the best ones too, because you hear guys really getting a basketball talk. Sometimes they get a little bit more personal, but guys' journeys and things they've had to do to reach where they reached, and schooling the young guys a little bit, just all type of things like that. But there's a lot of bonding that happens on trips like this. And I think that's why it's good for a team that's going through some things, because we in proximity the whole time. There's nowhere for me to go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If it's something that needs to be hashed out, it's either going to get hashed out or it's going to become a weight. So let's figure it out.
Right. Now, look, I'm not in these bus rides or any plane rides. Sometimes you do hear about things about it's real quiet in there sometimes. You know what I mean? And I guess my question is is that necessarily a bad thing, or is it also sometimes where if a team is really cohesive and really in a good space, and obviously that can kind of come and go sometimes, and obviously if you win, you're definitely in a way better mood. But
Yeah,
like,
because it's a joke. Like, let's make when you're coming home and there's a long trip home, let's
yeah,
make this flight pleasant.
yeah,
Nobody wants to fly 5 hours home after losing by 20 or something. Like nobody wants that.
yeah,
But I also think sometimes there's things you reach a point where, let's say things are going the way you want, and you reach a point on this road trip where everybody understands that we're not where we're supposed to be.
right.
Sometimes there don't need to be any words. Sometimes the next practice, there's a ton of focus shown, in the next game, all that frustration is let right out on the floor. And in the heat of the moment, guys are holding each other accountable, saying, hey, man, I need you to be here. I need you to be there. Not in a disrespectful way, just everybody understands we're in a make or break spot and we need to make a change. So it's just who's going to be the guy who really steps on the gas as far as like pressing forward that change. And I think that making that speech is part of that. Going into this road trip, like putting it on guys' minds, these are some things that we need to carry with us, and I think that's a great thing to have with a vet like that, starting that thought process on the way out.
Yeah, no, I mean it's good. You can tell that sometimes it's just like, look, listen, you got sometimes you might just need to hear this. You know what I mean? Like he's in year 16, he's not trying to waste any time. He's not trying to see like guys essentially messing around or anything like that. Yeah, again, we're not accusing anything. It's just like, again, like a guy like that, when he speaks, you got to listen.
And that's a guy who doesn't take it personal either. Like he's like, I've been through this. Like I'm not trying to attack you.
Yep.
If I'm a guy on a team with a bunch of guys that say they want to be a winning team and they're not doing the things you need to do to be a winning team, who am I as a vet if I don't say anything?
Right.
Like what's the point of me even being here if I'm not going to, this is part of my job description.
Right.
Not just performing on the floor, but to help guide. Like I might not be the captain, but if my captain is, if I'm a 17-year vet, I think that's how many years, and my captain is younger than me, I need to nudge him a little bit too.
Yep. No, that's true. Now, I also think that like this time of year, especially with them going on a long road trip, it can be a little anxiety inducing just because the trade deadline is literally coming up, right? And this is probably around that time you see management go with them. I know Bobby's with them on this trip right now. Masai, I saw him at the 905 game today. Probably will make it out there as well. Like this has got to be something that players also talk about as well in terms of just like, I know everyone in the fan base, everyone in the media, they always want to talk about trades. I'm sure they're probably upset right now not hearing us trade this guy for this guy and all this sort of other fantasy stuff. Is that a topic of conversation in locker rooms? Are guys sort of like essentially on pins and needles at this time of year?
Guys are well aware of what's being said, around the league, but we don't. Or like and then sometimes nobody knows. Like everybody knows there's trades that pop out of nowhere. But for the most part, everybody's got social media, right? Like it's hard not to see what's being said, the things that are going around. And I think the biggest thing is to control what you can control.
Okay.
Like there's not a lot you can do about it unless you went and requested a trade. Unless you made the turmoil. Like if you made the bed, then you got to lay in it. But I mean, if you're in a spot where you hear things, and I always took it. For me, I always took it, like it's two sides to it. Like somebody else is willing to take you. Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I want to be ready for that. And then at the same time, I'm still trying to perform for where I'm at. I'm trying to, make myself serviceable to my team. So I just look at it like I'm going to be the best basketball player I can be in the position I'm in. Everything else that's supposed to happen is going to happen. Do I want to get traded? No, I don't think any guy wants to uproot. And, I shouldn't say that because a lot of guys do. But I mean, I don't think it's ideal to feel that way is what I should say.
No, that's fair. And then listen, I think maybe especially the older you get in your career, maybe when you've gone through it once or twice, like you learn that perspective, which I think is definitely wise. You can only control what you control. Focus on that, right? But at the same time, when you're younger,
I will say this, it's still not fun. So, because when I got traded, when in Toronto, that was year 15? That was my first time getting traded my whole career.
Really?
Yeah, it never happened. I had every team change was through free agency.
Right.
So, like that was the only time I changed teams. So, like that first, it's still weird. It's still different, because like I left Atlanta and was playing in Memphis. Like let's just say I left Friday and I left Wednesday and was playing on Friday.
Right.
No practice, no nothing, barely know guys' names, any of that. Don't get me wrong, it's just basketball, and I had a lot of career behind me, but it's still a challenge.
Yeah. Well, I mean. Did you know that was a possibility coming up? Like, were you?
I had no idea.
Up? You had no idea.
I had no idea. I found. Let's not go crazy over this, but I found out like at pregame lunch for the game that night. Like I found out through social media.
Damn. That wasn't a
like,
small
because
trade
everything
either.
happened so fast. Everything happened so fast, you know, like.
Right.
Next thing you know, I was like, talking to Nick before they went to the game. You know, we had a conversation about it. You know, and it was over.
Damn. No, I mean that's the thing. Like on a human level, like I understand that this is how front offices got to operate, right? Like it's really their job. I'm sure Bobby and Messiah are really nice people, and I'm sure most GMs and executives.
Bobby called me too. I don't want to say. I don't want to act like they didn't. He did call me too.
Okay, right. But like I do think that like this is, I think from the player's perspective, when this happens to you as a human being, it's got to be really jarring. And this is a big trade. Like it was you, JV, and DeLon going out, right? And of course Marcus All coming back. Damn.
The thing that was cool though is we went together, so we all went to the same place, so it made it a little easier, you know. Like
right.
You go with some familiar faces, not that we wanted it, but that makes it a little easier. But like like you said, like as a human being, you still feel some type of way, you know.
Right.
Especially when you've been somewhere and you make some memories and you make some friendships and you've had some success, some success on a team, you know, thinking you got a chance to really do something special, or knowing that something special is going to happen. They win the championship that year.
Yeah.
Not saying, and the trade, not saying that we would have won it with the same team or not. I don't know. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you see it.
Yeah. No, I mean, damn. That's tough. I remember that game in Atlanta too. It was really emotional. There was only like 8 guys who suited up for the Raptors. A lot of guys weren't playing. Kawhi was load managed that day. And I think it was Fred and Pascal who really had to step up. And of course, you look years down the line, and that's kind of like, you know, what's still around from that team.
Yeah.
The league moves fast, man. The league moves fast. And I think,
Barry.
too, especially at like, I don't know. I mean, it's got to be weird on a human level just seeing your name sort of floated around, right? People like, you never know, because some people, you know, obviously like Woj, Shams, you know, Chris Haynes, Mark Stein. Like there's like some real like name value behind some of these reporters. You probably met them and introduced yourself to them a long time, or they've done the same to you. And you know, when you hear them talking, you're like, okay, there's probably something legit here. But at the same time, like, especially in this media economy where it's just like so many people are coming out, because this is like, there's anybody, if you put out any report, people are going to click on it, right? And there's such an incentive for people to jump in and pass along whatever info they have. Like, I mean, as players, like that's got to be disorienting. But also at the same time, sometimes you probably just be like, I know this is not happening. And you might have to laugh at it sometimes.
And there's some where some guys, their name will get floated around. And there'll be a guy from the front office say, look, do not pay attention to that.
Okay.
Like, you know,
Really?
they'll beeline right to you. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes it's just like, you know, like you said, from a personal, like as a person, as a human being, to be on the team and to see that float around, it's like, damn, like they don't rock with me like that. Like they don't for this to be, or nobody's come to tell me that it's not true. Or like sometimes you want that security. I think everybody would play better with that security, but we understand it's a business too. Like, and like me, like I said, like I had been around forever. So I've seen and come, I've been on, we had to stop a plane one time for a guy to get off. Like loaded up on the plane, taking off. They stopped the plane so a guy could get off because he got traded. It went through as we were about to fly out.
That's wild.
Took his bags off the bottom of the plane, everything.
Damn.
And we thought he was joking because he got up, because we used to make a running joke. Like, guys, the deadline would pass. And it's like, guys, I got to look at their phone. And be like, it was me this year. I got da-da-da-da.
Okay.
And he got up, started just dapping people up, right? And everybody's like, man, what you doing? Sit down. We about like, you know, he's like, nah, I'm out of here. He's like, no way. Like, dapped everybody up.
Yo.
He got to like the 9th person. We were like, oh, he's serious. He got off the plane.
Damn. I guess, I'm not gonna ask you who this is, because it really doesn't
I
matter.
don't want to put nobody's stuff. But
that's
let's
wild,
say this. It's
man.
another main guy and rotation guy on our team, like a guy we've been with a few years. You know what I mean? It's a guy.
Yeah, no, that's tough, because I mean, especially because with professional sports, we always talk so much about like we need great leadership on the team. We need guys to really bond and build chemistry, and you got to do this together, and you got to put in so much emotionally into everything you're doing. Especially because it's high stakes, but it's also for so many people watching, millions of people watching. Like there's so many emotions that goes into that. And at the same time, though, like you could just get cut off, like literally in the middle of the plane, they just drop you off. So, and it's not
but
to say
let's
that
look
like
at the other side too, though. Like the players got to take a little bit of this too. They've opened the floodgates of demanding and saying, like, and not saying this stuff wasn't happening before that, but like now if you got both sides that's free and uncaring with it, like saying like, yeah, get me out of here, then why would it get more gentle?
Yeah.
You know, like why would it it's a business. If you want to play, that it's a business, just treat it like business on both sides. So if I'm somewhere and I feel like this is not the best business decision for me to be playing here, and I voice that, don't come for me. If you're not gonna come for the owners for trading guys without telling them and nothing like that. You know what I mean? Like,
no, that's totally fair.
Let's treat it fairly both ways. And then there's no problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of talk right now about like, the term is like player empowerment, which actually it's a positive term when I'm thinking about it. Any kind of empowerment really is a positive thing, especially in this case, the workers are being empowered. But at the same time, I do think that like that kind of gets blown out of proportion. Like we're talking about like, I don't know, the ratio of an owner or a GM trading a player without sort of like consulting them or sort of even factoring that in versus like the number of times players have willingly asked out and maybe went public or not went public with it. It's got to be like way more in proportion of sort of the ownership side. Now, of course, they're the ones they're the bosses. They pay the money and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of why the money is there for in part as well. But at the same time, like I get it.
We
I get
can't
it from your
say
perspective.
the type of players that these players have grown into and the stuff that's been done over years is the reason why the money is where it is now.
That's true. That's true.
You know what I mean? Which is why there has to be a little bit of empowerment on. But there's got to be some guidelines on both sides because you can't let everybody just do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Because then you lose the special, the gratefulness that comes with this opportunity. Like this is a job too, and but it's a job that you play basketball for a living and make buku dollars, right? Like you play a game, travel the world. That's all the perks that come with said making the money. And there's only like 400 of us, right? Now, if you get these guys getting up here being ungrateful and treating it like it's nothing, where's the sacredness to that?
Right. That's
like,
true.
you know what I mean? Where's the brotherhood? Where's the real sense of accomplishment and the acknowledgement of the work that you have to do to get there? It gets sullied because you get there and you get these ungrateful, spoiled people just, you know what I mean? From both. It can't work good. It can't look good that way.
Well, that's why the best organizations, like, it's a people business at the end of the day, right? And I think the Raptors have done a really good job of sort of maintaining that relationship. I know, like, probably the quote-unquote coldest thing was, like, when Masai had to move DeMar for Kawhi.
Yeah, that was tough.
And that was covered from all angles, right? I'm sure, like, you were a member of the team at that time. Like, that must have been, like, just – I mean, like, DeMar was, like, him and Kyle. That was him and Kyle's team.
That was tough.
Right. And like the reaction to that, I know Kyle was pissed, which obviously he would be, right? That's his guy. But at the same time, though, like, at the same time, you look back on it in history, you're like, okay, clearly that thing worked out for the Raptors franchise. But, I mean, again, it's a people business.
It had to work out.
It did have to work out.
It
was
for the city's sake,
thing.
right? The city would have been that had to work out, or the city would have been in fits, right?
That's true.
But I mean, and that's part of the business side that you got to look at too. Like, so Masai had to make a decision.
Yep.
Like he's doing a job also. That doesn't. I'm not saying that you have a job in the front office means you can treat people like dirt, and that's not what he did. But I'm just saying it also means he's gonna have a position at a stance sometimes that's not gonna be popular.
Yeah.
And that was probably the most unpopular one he could have picked, right? Like, but he stood his ground.
Yep.
And it worked. I know there was a lot of emotional ties to that, but you're looking at a guy who came here as a kid, turned himself into a man, broke records, carried a team, did all these great things, and really was pushing the culture forward. There's a lot of positives to what he did here. It's not like he wanted to be here. That's the thing that I think that makes it hard. Is that you had a lot of guys coming around, demanding trades, teaming up with other superstars, doing all these things, and DeMar was like, "No, I'm staying right here.
Yeah. No,
this is where I want to be." And I think that's what made it hard.
And honestly, like, man, not to open up a can of worms, but like really, like for the Raptors fan base, right? One of the things that when we hear is all the time is like, sometimes players don't necessarily want to be here. Now, in the years past, like the Raptors weren't really about anything. They were a losing team. Like, why would you necessarily want to be in those locations, right? I totally understand that from that perspective. But you also hear some things about, like, oh, man, my kids are learning the metric system. They're learning what a centimeter is. They're learning about kilometers instead of miles, like, okay, whatever, right? That's more education, really, honestly. But it's like, it was significant that a player really, really embraced it. Obviously grew into that role, and then him and Kyle both kind of did that. And, of course, we've seen players subsequently come in and kind of continue to do that. And hopefully it stays like that. But, I mean, like, what is the hesitation? Like, why don't free agents? Why don't more people make the choice that you made? Because it clearly worked out for you.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I will say this: so I didn't realize the lack of disrespect that the Raptors were getting until I got here.
Okay.
Or until I got there, I should say. I'm not in Toronto right now, but like when I got there, I was like, "There's no way this team, the success it's had, doesn't get this many TV games." Or when they talk about the top teams in certain are doing this, there's no chatter about it, nothing. It's like, it's just like, yeah, they're up there. If they start deep in the playoffs, we'll talk about them then.
Yeah.
Type thing, you know? I will say that. And then I think there was this stigma on coming up north that is being carried since back when the baseball and hockey players used to say they're not going because of the taxes, right?
Okay.
Like that was the
All right.
big argument. I think that has loomed over time, and it kind of like anything over time, the real meaning of the stigma kind of isn't there. People just know
Right.
that it's one of those things like, I don't want to go up there to Canada. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure. Okay.
and it's not like, and they act like you're going into a cave in the top of the biggest mountain somewhere. Like, it's not even like it's
like an hour from
it's not
New York,
that
man.
different. Yeah, like it's
yeah,
not that
yeah.
it's not that different. It's not that crazy. I think, and then you get there and the people that you have, and you realize you have a whole country behind a basketball team. I've never felt this type of support I felt the first year, especially when I was there.
Yep.
Like I'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah, man.
Like but how could you? There's no place where there's a whole country behind the team.
Right.
So how could you see that anywhere else? And I think that's something special that's being missed out. I also think there's a lot of timing issues. Like I don't think there's been a space where there's been this in a while where there's been a super big name and it just fit. Like the type of guy that could come. I think that's been a thing too. And you can't force anything, right?
Of course. Yeah, exactly. This ain't baseball. You can't just go out and like sign whoever you want all the time. I hear that. That's why I'm looking forward to when some of these Canadians come into free agency. You know what I mean? A Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
nearby Hamilton, always showing love to Toronto. You know, I mean, listen, it's just a hope, obviously, but it's because he's such a great
that would
player.
be dope though. You know, you
that
get
would be dope.
The best way to change it is to flood the market with your own people, right? Like,
I mean, so it's coming then. It's coming because right now you see great Canadian players everywhere right now.
It's got to, right?
Yeah. All right, CJ, look, this has been great. We've been going through all this sort of deadline stuff. I think the biggest thing I actually wanted to go through with you was sort of an exercise to see if Pascal's going to make the All-Star team. Now, I think it's kind of undebatable to me that he is a guy who has played at an All-Star level all season, but I do think that like the way sort of, I don't know, whether coaches or they hand it off to assistant coaches, you know what I mean? Because it's not necessarily just like Nick Nurse sitting down filling out the ballot all the time. Sometimes they pass it off to the assistants. But like when the coaches are looking at sort of the players, sometimes, of course, they factor so much into the winning aspect. And that's the one thing working against Pascal. It's just the winning has not necessarily been there as it has been in previous years. So I wanted to go through the East All-Stars with you real quickly. I wanted to hear who your starting five is going to be and any sort of locks that you had on your reserves.
Okay. So speaking on Pascal first, I don't think you can go through the list and he's not an all-star.
I agree.
You know what I mean? I don't think, and I think that, you know, obviously the fans, they determine the starters. And then after that, like, you know, those guys, like Pascal is right there with those guys, numbers wise and everything, right? So after the fans determine the starters, if he's not voted in the fan vote, and we start going through the next, 6, 7, 8 guys after that, how many guys on the all-star team? How could he not be picked?
He's averaging, to be clear, 25 points a game, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, with a steal and a block.
Yeah, like how does he not?
And he's shooting 48% from the field.
Yeah, and it's not the first year he's done this. You know what I mean? He's not new to it. Yeah. So, like, he's trending up after being one already. So that's the way I look at that.
Okay.
Now, as far as starters, I think we got our usual suspects, right? We got Joel Embiid, Giannis, Kevin Durant, if he's healthy.
He's going to play.
Jason
He said he's
Tatum.
going to play.
Yeah, Jason Tatum. And then you look at the guards, Kyrie, Donovan Mitchell have been outstanding this year, right?
Right.
I think those guys, you know, it's somewhere, I don't have the definitive, but I think those guys, you know, they're the cream of the crop guys this year. And then they're making this crazy run into the All-Star time like guys tend to do, you know? Like guys get kind of charged up about that and they kind of string together some crazy number. Like Kyrie's going on a crazy run right now without Kevin Durant playing.
Yeah.
Like, just to be sure, like, hey, guys, I know I'm going to play in the All-Star game, but in case you were thinking about not, you know, Donovan Mitchell's been great all year in the East.
He was number 1 in voting, I think, among Eastern Conference guards anyway. So
he's going to be in the fan voting because his game is the ultimate, passes the ultimate eye test, right?
He should be in an All-Star game, just his skill set for sure.
Yeah, he's just, not to mention him being consistent and, you know.
And the team's winning.
Exactly. So I think that's tough. Now in the West, I think LeBron was going to be the same kind of thing with Kyrie. Him and Steph are going to be in the top, but also those guys are performing at a level that, you know, that allows that to just, you know, it's like when you ask who are the best rappers in the world and people don't name Jay-Z because it's like a given.
Right.
It's like one of those things. Like I'm not going to say Jay-Z's name. I think my biggest thing, I want Shai in the All-Star game on the West. That's the only thing I care about.
Okay.
is that he makes the All-Star. I think
agree.
he deserves it. I
Yep.
think he's done damage for a while now, and this year has been crazy.
Yeah.
He's been, he's another notch, and I think, it's hard with what they're going through as a unit down there. They're trying to figure it out, but like he's been steady and he's been doing everything he can do.
He's been clutch too. That's the thing,
man. I don't know how you don't let him in.
How do you not double team him at the end of a game? With all due respect to everyone else on OKC right now, it's just I just need someone else to beat me.
It's not even exactly. It's not even about the other guys. It's just I'm not gonna let him do it because he's proven that he's gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's like when you watch old clips of Michael Jordan. Like how do we let him get a shot off?
Yeah, fair. That's fair.
Don't get me wrong. The guys are that good, and like I know it's not that simple, but
yeah,
I'm doing everything I can to make somebody else beat me.
No, I need Steve Kerr to hit the shot. You know what I mean? And if Steve Kerr hits the shot, you shake their hand, you just say you're the better team. But yeah, that's how it's got to go.
Also, I would like to see Laurie from Utah.
Yep. First time.
Be in the All-Star game.
Should be first time.
Back on the east side, I would like to see Julius make it this year after what he's been doing.
Okay.
Julius Randle. I'd like to see him get back in there.
All right.
But then I think the rest is, the usual suspects. I think it's
Jaylen Brown's got to be in that mix too, of course.
Yeah. Jaylen Brown's got to be in that mix. He's becoming a usual suspect to me. Sorry, I should have said his name. He's becoming, and I did my little 10-day in Boston last year, and I got to see him up. I never really had a chance to be around him either. So after being around him, conversing with him, seeing his approach to the game, I grew even more of a fan of him. And I think he's deserving of everything they're doing over there. Same with Jason Tatum. I think I know Paolo's on the vote list, but I don't think it's time yet. I think he will be.
His time will come for sure. Orlando's a tough team up and coming. I was just watching their game against Boston yesterday. I think they beat Boston 3 times now. That's a tough team to play, especially when they're focused and locked in. They have so much length and talent.
Shout out to my guy Jamal Mosley coaching that team. He was one of my assistant coaches in Cleveland.
They play hard for him.
Man, that's the energy he brings.
Right.
That's the guy he is. That's why I was so excited to see him be a coach, especially for some young guys, because he fits that.
All right.
But I think Zion. Obviously, I love to see him in an All-Star game. I love to see him do some All-Star things,
Oh, him and Ja Morant just got to come together. Whoever needs to make enough money, put on the table or whatever it is. But I got to see a dunk contest with the two of them. I just have to.
I don't know how we're going to figure that out, right?
It's going to be Zach LaVine versus Aaron Gordon all over again.
Yeah.
Although maybe not as good. I was watching back that dunk contest yesterday, just so happened. Man, those guys, I'd never seen that before, man. I forgot the other two guys in the dunk contest, Drummond and Will Barton. Like, with all due respect, like they weren't there.
Yeah, I would like to see those guys in that setting though, because their athleticism would allow them to try some stuff that you probably wouldn't think of. I think Ja probably got some dunks that he could do, probably stuff that he does in the summertime, some stuff that we probably never seen.
Right. He's gonna have to invite Jakob Poeltl to come because.
Yeah, facts.
No offense, Yak.
Nah, that's my guy too. I know, but like people, but that's the price you play as trying to be an ultimate rim protector. If you're not getting dunked on, you're not trying to protect my rim hard enough. That's what I will say.
Exactly.
Like, he's just living in a day and age where there's the most athletic people have ever been in a basketball court, right?
That's fair.
So everybody's trying it.
Honestly, like I can't disagree with any of those picks, man. I mean, and even off the top of my head, I feel like James Harden's probably got to be in it, leading the league in assists, right? I mean, Halliburton, I think
Luka. I didn't say
obviously
Luka.
Oh, again, that's a given.
Hold on, time out. I'm sorry.
Halliburton's got to be in.
That's a disrespect for me not to say his name.
Okay.
That was disrespectful of me not to say his name. And I've been an advocate of him on social media every way I can. Just because I had some ties in Indiana. Obviously, I played there.
Of course.
And I met him over the summer too. Real nice dude, real pleasant kid, man. But like just what he's doing for the franchise, like not even getting to what he's doing playing wise, which has been outstanding. Just what he's doing. I think he's been hurt, right? He's been down for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because McConnell's been starting, and McConnell had a triple-double. That shows you the energy that organization's got going right now. Guys are stepping up, and they feel good as a unit. But what Halliburton's done, just for the positivity and the outlook of those guys' approach to the game and what they could be as a team has been enough to be on an all-star team within itself, especially for its age.
I mean, he plays so much different than a guy like Shea, but kind of the same effect, right? Like that lead star guard who's able to sort of take the organization where I think a lot of people had Indiana tanking or OKC tanking this year. They're not tanking. They're very competitive. And they play a similar style. Everyone drive and kick. Eventually, your rotation's gonna. Doesn't matter what how many X outs you want to do, man. Your leg's gonna get tired when you face the third drive and kick.
We keep touching the paint. It's only so much you can do, and that's why teams want it though.
Yep.
That's why Thad is so adamant about being ready early, because if we can touch the paint 3 times in the possession, we're gonna get an open 3 or a layup.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, CJ,
somebody's gonna get a cut.
Listen, appreciate you so much. I feel like we could probably talk again. But I don't want to be too greedy with the requests. But every time we chat,
good. I'm around, man. It's easy. I love basketball. I love to talk basketball.
No, we clearly, man, clearly. But seriously, thanks for your time. We got to go to a break, but you can catch CJ on Strictly Hoops. Highly recommend him. Talking to my man Ahmed over there as well, Yahoo. And,
new show this week.
New show this week. All right,
yeah,
so check it out.
Coming this week.
Appreciate you, CJ.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break right here. I've been your host, Willu. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, William Liu. Big thanks to CJ Miles for joining us in the first half of the program. And here to close out the game, here to reveal the secret third Asian of the Raptors Show in the flesh this time, because last week I think we also got JR on. But producer JR Manitad called in to fill for Alex Wong, who is, again, away. I'm looking at just like the 20 inches of snow we have outside, and just imagining Alex on a beach right now. So
he's lucky.
Very jealous. But yeah, JR, how you doing, man? You good?
Doing all right, man. Yeah, made it in.
Yep.
Better the weather outside. So happy to have another game tonight. Late one.
Yeah, am I going live tonight or no? Is this
yeah. We're telling you right now, you're going live.
Okay. All right.
We're flipping our schedules.
Yeah.
Nice little 10 p.m. broadcast.
I mean, it's no thing, man.
On radio.
Yeah.
And then people can sleep to the Raptors reaction live.
A lot of people message me online and they're like, "Where's my bedtime story?"
Yeah.
And they're talking about the Rag Pod.
You might have to like soft speak because try like an ASMR.
Oh no, don't worry. I'm not trying to wake up my girlfriend who's going to be asleep at 1 a.m. when I'm doing the broadcast. I'm not trying to wake up the neighbors. Like none of that stuff, man. I'm
at
going to be
1:30 a.m. when the Raptors.
Hello and welcome.
Yeah.
To the Raptors 130 to 90 lost.
No, don't do that to them. No.
Nah, man, it won't be like that. The Raptors score more than 100 points, but they won't lose.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're so the Raptors are going on a road trip.
Mm-hmm.
As we sort of covered it with CJ here. So Raptors are gonna be away for like more than 2 weeks.
That's a long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
If you were packing for a 2-week road trip,
right?
What's got to be the essentials for JR here?
I might have to drop in my my essential kicks.
Okay. What's in the kicks?
Jordan 1s.
Okay.
The
classic.
Yeezys.
Another classic.
I wish I could bring my gaming PC, but I can't.
Okay. I mean, yeah, you definitely can't bring your gaming PC, bro. What are
14
you doing,
days on the road.
Have you heard of a Switch? Just get a Switch.
No, I'm not getting a Switch. I can't afford that.
Okay, wow.
I'll bring my Xbox probably.
Okay.
14 days. I need to wind down.
Yeah.
And then, got to get the fits off. How
many fits? For a 15-day road trip, how many fits? Because we asked Grange about this. I think Grange said one carry-on will be enough for me. And I was like, Grange, I got to stop you there.
Yeah, with these prices.
That's too small.
With these prices and luggage being lost, I might have to stick with Grange with that one.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do just
my
one
usual,
one
black pair of pants, one jeans for 2 weeks. And then I don't know. I'll be in Italy in the summer, and then I'll probably buy something from there. Buy some shorts over there.
Okay, yeah. If I see you in the Gucci, I know you got it from the motherland.
Not in Gucci.
Yo, honestly, in the Rome airport, which is actually slightly outside of Rome.
Yeah.
You can literally, it's like every single like high end fashion shop is there. Like how we walk down the street right now on Bloor, and you walk past like whatever, right? All the stores that I don't shop at.
No, you do.
No, I definitely don't. I mean, H&M's over there, so technically I do go there. But the actual rich people stores,
right?
They have every single one of those inside the Rome airport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like while you're shopping, you can while you're waiting for your flight, you can literally go into like a Gucci store or whatever other.
That's a good scouting report. I might have to look into that.
Yeah. Fly through a Fumanese or something like that. I don't know. It sounds Brazilian.
I have like a 2-week trip in summer where we're gonna hop from country to country.
Mm.
It might be a grind, but we'll travel via bus. So hopefully I'll sneak in some designer stores.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Well, no, you always bring the fits, man. Look at this current one right now. My guy dressed like an indie mattress. What's up, man? You got that out the box? What happened?
No. This is from Zara.
Okay. All right. These are the conversations that we have. I mean, I know Alex is mad jealous right now that he can't partake in this. This is literally every day at Scotiabank Arena. So the Raptors, this is, by the way, just last thing on the road trip. This is the first time in 15 seasons the Raptors have had a 7-game road trip.
Mm-hmm.
The last time was back in 2007.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What were you doing in 2007?
So 2007, okay, this was 2007-08 season. 2007-08, I was in grade 10.
Oh, I thought you were 20.
At Martin Grove. Okay. So no, I'm not 20, unfortunately.
No, okay.
So I was in Martin Grove. All right, grade 10.
Yeah.
Probably around this time, probably like gifted English, which is still just reading Shakespeare and memorizing it. What else? Yeah. I mean, I was definitely watching a ton of Raptors, obviously, at that time. That season was actually quite similar to this one. They won more games, but they finished 500 or slightly above it, I believe. But it was also like they had just won a bunch of games, 47 that year. It was a bit of a surprise. It was a young team. We expected to make a jump, and they just didn't.
Jose Calderon was on that team.
Jose Calderon was on that team.
Was Chris Bosh still on that team?
Chris Bosh was on that team.
Andrea Bargnani.
Yeah.
Shout out him.
Yeah.
Primo Pasta.
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, it could be a lot darker. But anyway, we've run out of time, unfortunately. By the way, the Raptors in that road trip lost to the Sonics and also the New Orleans Hornets, two teams that are no longer.
Earl Watson started that game against the Sonics? Or with the Sonics?
Maybe.
I think.
All right, we've run out of time. Because it's time now for Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. The Raptors begin this road trip. Its first game tips off tonight in Sacramento at 10 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. So get ready to stay up. I've already had my second cup of coffee, and I'm probably going to take a nap.
I'm going to grab one, too.
The line tonight at Bet Rivers is Raptors are 3-point underdogs versus the Sacramento Kings, who are ascending up on the standings. JR, I've seen, this is the most research I've seen done for any game preview. So
shout out to Tristan, man, who emails us out on the Sportsnet.
Oh, emails. So that wasn't even you? Damn. But it's okay. Go ahead, man. What happened?
I mean, like the Kings are really good at home.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like 16-10 at home. Kings are really good in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Probably one of the best teams out there. 27-19 through 46 games this season.
Yep.
They have one of the best records since January 9th.
Right.
Around 7-1. Mm-hmm. Nuggets are above them 8-1. So this is it's gonna be a tough test for the Raptors, especially when they're on the road, because the Raptors aren't the best on the road. Mm-hmm. They've had some scoring droughts in the first quarter, so hopefully they could turn that around.
Yeah, you can't have a scoring drought against Sacramento. No. They literally average 120 points per game.
No, the Raptors are 6-15 on the road.
They won their last one.
Yeah,
in New York.
In OT.
Wait, hold on. They didn't even win that one. Never mind. Did they? No, they lost the last one they played in
Milwaukee.
No, in Minnesota.
Our memories are chalked.
Yeah, again, like I mentioned, remember. I was in grade 10 in 2007. So,
yeah.
You know,
I was probably in grade 5 in 07.
Wow.
Learning about the provincial governments and learning how to cursive write. So
yeah.
Anyways,
useful skills right now, to be honest.
Yes. Even though I don't write anymore, we're all on laptops and stuff.
No, for real though, actually. Yeah, for this game, it's gonna be tough, man. I mean, Sacramento is gonna score a lot. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's good that they put so much focus on their defense,
right?
Because they're gonna need it for this road trip. They're really gonna need it. This is gonna be a tough game. I'm probably gonna take Sacramento. I don't know about you.
I'll put some money on Raptors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. No,
if the Raptors are losing at or winning at halftime, then I'll sprinkle some more money on the Kings.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You know what?
No lead is safe for the Raptors.
Well, I did personally witness you doing this when the Raptors played the Knicks, and the Raptors were up at halftime, and you were looking pretty smart when the Raptors gave away the lead in the third quarter. But then again, Scotty Barnes and Gary Trent made you look a little silly.
They did. Scotty did give me that assist to complete my parlay.
Oh yeah, you're also really good with the parlays. You got a quick parlay. We got like 10 seconds.
Player props. Yeah, player props. Fred VanVleet over 20.5 points.
Okay.
Get Siakam over 24.5 points.
Okay.
It's a bonus. Get him on a double-double.
It's pretty good.
And if Precious is there, get him on double-double as well.
Wow. Okay, a lot of missed shots because there's a lot of rebounds.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, that was Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. It's a whole new game. Definitely more research for that than Alex. So again, we have to hold.
I'm not replacing Alex. Alex is coming back next week.
I don't know. We have another Asian.
No.
So it does feel that way. But anyway, we're done here for today. I'm your host, Will Lou, and you're listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And please rate and review the show. Reminder: we're streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. Thanks again to producer J.R. Manatad. Thanks to C.J. Miles, our board producer Derek Brandale, and Jennifer Rolnick for helping us with the YouTube stream. And we'll be back tomorrow.